What if I told you that every time you eat a hamburger, you are supporting the inhumane treatment of animals, putting your health and safety at risk, and contributing to global climate change? Unfortunately, since most of the country's food products are produced on factory farms, it's technically true. I'm not going to tell you that you should stop eating meat. However, I will tell you that you should consider eating only meat that comes from pasture-raised animals. Consuming food products from pasture-raised animals is more humane for the animals, healthier for the consumers, and better for the environment. Consuming food products from pasture-raised animals is more humane for the animals than the products that are produced on factory farms. Factory farms are large-scale industrial farms that have been widely criticized for practices that are considered unethical and inhumane. Animals that are raised on factory farms are often kept in overcrowded, unsanitary facilities. Birds, such as chicken and turkey, are often kept in pens with hundreds and sometimes thousands of other birds. They often have no access to the outside world other than the occasional small dirt lot. Larger animals, such as cattle, are kept on feedlots, which are parcels of land that are often covered in dirt and manure that they share with hundreds, sometimes thousands of other cattle. These overcrowded conditions on factory farms are very dangerous to the animal's health. Viruses and bacteria are able to flourish in the crowded, unsanitary conditions. Additionally, since the animals are constantly given antibiotics, many of these pathogens become resistant. These animals are fattened up quickly using foods that are not meant to be eaten by the animals and that are difficult for the animals to digest. Animals in factory farms are typically fed corn and other grains. Most of the animals on factory farms would never consume these foods in the wild. Michael Pollan, an author and journalist who has written numerous works on agriculture and food plants, explained in an interview to PBS that cattle are not naturally equipped to digest food such as corn and grain, and that the factory farmers sometimes have to help the cattle to digest it using different drugs. The animals frequently become malnourished due to their diets, but the farmers give them artificial growth hormones, causing them to grow much faster than they would even in normal conditions. Additionally, there are numerous health problems that these animals endure due to their unnatural diets. Cattle frequently experience bloating, gas, and acid reflux because their stomachs cannot properly digest their feed, which is painful for the animal. In addition to these practices, there are other practices that are downright sadistic. According to a report by Evelyn Pluhar, some of these practices include the practice of cycling unusable animal byproducts, such as inedible organs, back to the animals as feed. There have been additional instances in which factory farms and slaughterhouses have slaughtered and sold meat from sick cows to consumers. Fortunately, there are farmers who are raising cattle the way that we would normally picture a cow being raised, in a green field with other cows, grazing peacefully, eating grass. These farmers practice what is called grass-fed or pasture-raised farming. Eat Wild, an organization dedicated to spreading awareness about the benefits of pasture-raised and grass-fed animal products, provides an overview of the benefits of pasture-raising animals. Animals that are pasture-raised typically live in a more natural habitat, where they are able to graze in a pasture instead of an overcrowded feedlot. These animals forage for grass in the pasture, so they have less painful digestive problems and nutritional deficiencies. In addition to the lack of nutritional deficiency, the lack of such a stressful environment as feedlots contributes to a much lesser need for antibiotics. Factory farming is also dangerous to the humans that consume the products that are produced on these farms. Factory farming and mass production of meat products have contributed to keeping meat prices relatively low for consumers, which is a good thing for the working and middle classes. However, in addition to the unethical treatment of animals raised on these factory farms also pose a risk to the people who consume their meat products and other products that are produced nearby. According to a report, factory farms are one of the largest polluters of surface and groundwater in the United States. The animals on factory farms produce waste, which is washed away when it rains, into the water system. This waste is then transported to nearby streams or into nearby irrigation systems and fields of other food products like vegetables. The waste contains the remnants of drugs given to the animals, such as hormones and antibiotics, along with different kinds of microbes and pathogens, which may or may not be antibiotic resistant. Some of the different organisms that have been identified and linked to factory farming are MRSA, Shiga toxin-producing E. coli, and Salmonella. There have been 3 outbreaks identified in 2016, each involving the Shiga toxin-producing E. coli, according to the CDC. Shiga toxin-producing E. coli is a type of bacteria that can cause severe symptoms, including bloody diarrhea, cramping, kidney failure, and even death. The CDC estimates that in 2016, as a result of these outbreaks, there were 85 known cases of Shiga toxin-producing E. coli, and that resulted in 17 hospitalizations. However, not every person that is infected with Shiga toxin-producing E. coli survives. One particular case from 2001 is extremely saddening. A 2-year-old little boy named Kevin Kowalczyk was infected with a strain of Shiga toxin-producing E. coli after eating contaminated hamburger meat. Within 2 weeks after his first symptoms appeared, the toddler passed away. Meat from pasture-raised animals is a much healthier and safer alternative to meat from factory-farmed animals. The animals that are generally raised with minimal antibiotic intervention. The animals need less antibiotics to survive because their immune systems are not compromised due to overcrowded conditions or unnatural diets. The animals are simply healthier. Additionally, according to Eat Wild, beef that is grass-fed has a lower fat content than beef that was fed corn and grain products. And lastly, on grass-fed and pasture-raised farms, there are less animals in a less densely crowded farm, so there is less risk of so much waste being polluted into the groundwater and onto other food products. Factory farming is also dangerous to the environment. According to a book by Henning Steinfeld, Pierre Garber, Tom Wassenaar, Vincent Castell, Mauricio Rosales, and Sista Han, factory farming contributes 9% of all carbon emissions that are attributed as human-caused and 37% of all methane emissions, which are 20 times more damaging in terms of climate change than carbon. According to the Humane Society, factory farms contribute these emissions in numerous ways, including high-energy crops such as corn used as feed and the energy used to power their massive farms. Methane is produced on factory farms by the animals directly. Methane is released during the digestive process in cattle and pigs. Additionally, methane is also released during the decomposition of manure. Greenhouse gas emissions has long been an issue that goes hand in hand with global climate change, which is a highly controversial and political issue. However, the fact remains that methane and carbon emissions from factory farms are contributing to a much larger scale problem. Pasture-raised farming can help reduce these emissions. According to Eat Wild, pasture-based farming will actually help the environment by creating more green spaces that will help to eliminate greenhouse gases from the air and use it to create more fertile soil. In conclusion, factory farming is more harmful in a number of ways, which we have explored in depth over the last 9 minutes. Most notable of the harm caused by factory farming is the inhumane and unethical treatment of farm animals, the dangers and health risks posed to humans who consume animal products, and the environmental dangers posed by emissions that come from factory farming. Pasture-based farming has become more popular in the last decade due to its more sustainable model that is kinder to animals, healthier for humans, and better for the environment. So the next time that you think about the next time you think about buying meat at the grocery store, I encourage you to think about where your meat is coming from, what the true cost of purchasing that meat means to the animals, to your health, and to the environment. Thank you.